Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher. Did I screw that up? I screwed it up. And Christopher G. Mohr. I feel like I named him twice. I'm pretty sure I did. Yes. Everybody's here. And we'll take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Welcome to Trainwreck. Tonight we're reviewing The Outwaters. And let me introduce my crew one by one so we get it right. Starting off with my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm looking at you through a tiny hole in this notebook.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
No. Oh gosh.
It's bad.
Oh my goodness, Jeff. Oh, that was really bad.
It was.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
I'm
not.
actually great. It's good to be here.
I just wish it actually had a tiny hole. Like, yeah.
I'm not sure where you're going with that, but
speaking of tiny holes, we'll get to them later. Joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing, Crystal?
I am great. I don't know who we are anymore. I don't know what we are anymore. Like, sometimes you guys shock me, and in a good way, but also in a way where I can't believe you don't like some things that I like, and
how does that happen? That shouldn't even happen, right?
Mm-mm.
All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
doing good. Have a little bit of PTSD because as an editor, watching a lot of unedited footage. But other than that, I'm doing good.
Yes, definitely. All right. Also rounding out the crew is Gruesome Magazine's lead news writer, the one and only Dave Dreher. How you doing, Dave?
My head is draining, Doc.
Your head is draining.
I was either going to go with that or cut off my penis and throw it at the screen. But
no.
So.
Oh my God.
I appreciate your choice, Dave.
Yes. All right. So just in case, if you haven't seen the movie, you have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, that was a good laugh.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God.
What we're going to do tonight, get over that, is share our initial reaction to The Outwaters. Those reactions will be spoiler free, if you can imagine that. Then we'll dive into a discussion. We'll get into spoilers. There's a few. There was one that Dave just gave up, but hey, that's everything. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend button so we can reach more fans of horror films just like you. And you can also help us get to our goal of 5,000 subscribers. And only you can help us do that. So thank you in advance. And Dave, we want them to leave some comments, right, Dave?
Of course, yes. That's the whole purpose. That's the only reason we're here.
That's right. Thank you, Dave. The Outwaters 2023 from Cinedigm, Blade Discussing, and available on Screenbox, will be in theaters first on February 9th, 2023. Synopsis: memory cards, Christopher, memory cards unearthed in a remote stretch of the Mojave Desert tell the story of 4 travelers who vanished during a sun-drenched camping trip. One night, everything changes when the foursome is sent on a mind-bending voyage of unrelenting terror into a world of darkness that no human was ever meant to see. Christopher might have a few things to say about that. There it is. All right. It is written and directed by Robbie Banfitch. No, this come on, guys. This hold everything back. Starring Robbie Banfitch, along with, am I saying that right? I am, right? Banfitch. Angela Basilis, Michelle May, Scott Schimmel, and Leslie Ann Banfitch. There you go. I feel weird saying all that. All right. What we're going to do, we are going to give you our first impressions now. We are going to start off with the one and only Christopher G. Mohr. I can't wait to hear. What was your first impression of The Outwaters?
I did not like this. The first half of it is just random unedited footage. The second half of it, 75% of it is shot through a pinhole because all you see is the end of a flashlight. And the 50 minutes of it, it really is just like you went through somebody's camera, looking at footage, and then stuff doesn't really happen until like 50 minutes to an hour into it. And even then it just goes off the rails. I mean, it has some kind of interesting stuff later, but at the same time, you don't even see stuff to even be able to appreciate what it is. I think the only, if I could say is a strength, maybe the sound design. The second half of the sound design is the only strong part of it. But I thought this movie irritated me. By the way, a camera battery will not last for several days. I hate to break it to you. Especially out in the heat, it's going to overheat. Your camera's going to overheat, and you're not even going to be able to shoot all the footage that happens in the second half. So, but that's just more than my logical brain working when it comes to somebody who just works with cameras. So the whole time I'm like, this whole thing
took it out of the movie, huh?
Would have been filmed, yeah. But yeah, I still don't understand what happened. I'm not sure if I was meant to, and I'm kind of getting irritated by films that do this, because it gives an excuse to sort of say, well, whatever you think it has happened, and that's just annoying. I mean, I can understand sort of what they're going for by the end of it, I guess, but at the same time. You know, we already have movies that sometimes are shot dark, or this like Cinedigm where you don't know what's going on sometimes in the dark, or it's just shot in low light, or they just don't film it properly. And in this one, showing it from this little circle of a flashlight is one of the most infuriating things I've seen in a very long time. The whole point of making a movie is to, you put yourself in the atmosphere of it, but you're not even allowed to really appreciate what's there, what's happening. And yeah, there's a few moments I'll say were kind of creepy or scary. And when there's like, I'll say creatures or whatever.
What the fuck?
But at the same time, it just felt very random. I mean, this really felt very randomly edited. It felt like randomly thrown together. It didn't feel like it had any kind of real semblance. It was just, and it just became very repetitive by the end, to where I really don't care what's happening. And for this film to be an hour and 50 minutes is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's really a waste of time. And I hate saying that as a filmmaker or anybody who makes a film, but I mean, there's really no, you have semblance of maybe characters, but there's not really much of a plot. There's not really much of an explanation of anything. You're just meant to I guess take it in and make up your own reasoning for what happened. And I think by the end of it, I didn't really believe the acting of the main actor, just him saying things off screen. And none of it really made sense by the end of it. So I'm getting very frustrated, because I think when you make a film, there needs to be some kind of semblance of story or semblance of what's happening. And you're not even given the opportunity to do that, because you're showing the stuff through like a small circle in the screen that moves around a lot, and I don't know. This movie just annoyed me to no end, because it didn't feel like there was any kind of effort put into like actually making it a reasonable film that made sense.
Definitely. Crystal, what's your first impression of The Outwaters?
Okay, well, you know that I really liked Skinamarink. And I'm all for, experimental type filmmaking. And I do see what the filmmaker was going for in this. It starts out with like, a 911 call, and then we figure out these people are missing, which is not giving any spoilers away. And we have like an hour or something of getting to know these characters, which I liked a lot of the shots during this time. I liked a lot of the shots. I didn't have a lot of problems with much of that, except for the fact that I didn't really care about any of the characters. I didn't feel like even though there's a lot of character development, they weren't particularly relatable, which was kind of odd considering how much we watched them. I loved a lot of the shots of the desert. The desert is such a beautiful location. And I do think that they took advantage of that in a lot of ways. And so I was happy to see that. So that was nice. I find it interesting that Christopher enjoyed the sound design. And while the sound is a big part of this movie, they rely far too heavily on it, and the sound mixing is not good. The squishing sounds of the guts was far too loud, laughably loud. Like I was like, gosh, there's so many points where this filmmaker got really close, I feel like, to getting it really right, but I don't know if it's just because I think he was doing too much. I think when you're writing, directing, starring, and editing and doing the sound design and doing all of that, you're not going to be great at it all. It's just not going to happen. And I get it with the low budget. I just wish that maybe he had some friends he could call in, because the squishing, I was like, really? Basically, I feel like what he did is because of the fact that he lost a lot of the visuals in the dark, he was relying on the sound to make up the fear. But literally, he was using these squishy sounds. He was using snake sounds. He was using airplane sounds. He was using these sonic booms. It's like he just decided to go, what's a scary sound? And just throw it into a melting pot and see if it worked. And quite frankly, I could see how a lot of people would maybe think it's scary, but it doesn't make it good. Some things can be not great and scary, and some things can be very well made and not scary. And I guess the biggest issue is that I just didn't care about the people. And this movie, like Christopher said, this movie could have benefited so much from some CTB, like some blue, color temperature blue light on a stand, to have some like moonlight so that you could see more. I think that would have been a game changer for the film. Also, it should probably come with a strobe warning, because there's a lot of strobe lights here, and I think that could be a problem for some people. I don't mind the sort of hallucinogenic sort of ride we go on. So I'm kind of ragging on this movie, but I did enjoy it. I didn't hate it at all. I found some parts kind of cool. But when someone is screaming, "I want my mommy," and I'm laughing, there's a problem. Ugh. It was too soon. Yeah. I didn't care. We realized, yeah, her mom died, but I didn't. It was too. I think that came. It was almost like as soon as they got attacked, I want my mommy. That should be traumatizing, and it is traumatizing to me when I hear that. If you've put that fear in me, and I'm really feeling that the person's in pain. The sounds were so messed up, I didn't feel it. I didn't see anything, and I didn't hear it, and I didn't feel it. That's the difference between Skinamarink and this movie. I felt Skinamarink. I did not feel anything here. Even after Chops McGee. It was like, oh. So you're trying to do something to shock us to get the attention? It's like close. It's close. I think the filmmaker still has something. I could totally get behind a lot of the stuff he probably wants to do in the future, and I hope we'll see more. But I know a lot of it's probably budget, but yeah. Well, yeah.
Jeff, you're on mute. Tell us what your first impression of The Outwaters is.
I really like a good found footage movie. Now, what's the definition of a good found footage movie? I have things I like and things I don't like. This had everything I don't like. Well, I hate it in a found footage movie where they ignore the viewer in terms of being able to see what's going on, and what commonly happens is the camera movement is so fast you can't really pick up what's going on. This had that, but on top of that, it also had these tiny flashlights Christopher mentioned. That I'm like, really? That's what you take out into the desert? And not only that, it just you couldn't see crap. And then the one time it sort of zeroes in and focuses on something. I mean, we're supposed to get that there's like this bloody. Well, I'm going into spoilers. So, the first hour, I just literally was bored because, as you guys said, I get character development, but I didn't get character development. They spent a whole lot of time on this stuff, but I didn't know anything about them except that the singer's mother had died. I didn't really even know what the hell they were out in the desert for. I
Making a music video.
Yeah, but they didn't say, hey, let's go make a music video. Nowhere in there was that. It was like, oh, I can't believe we're fulfilling my dream. Like, what? To go camp in the desert? I just thought it was really vague and obtuse. And yeah, the shots in the desert were beautiful, but I didn't care about the people. They didn't really show much connection. I know the one guy was supposed to be the brother, but he just seemed aloof the whole time. I don't know what the deal was there. Then when it got into the action, for me, there's maybe in that last hour, there might have been 5 minutes of what I would consider worth seeing. Otherwise, it was just insane chaos that you had no idea what was going on. Either tiny spotlight flashlights zooming around or a completely black screen with flashing lights in no particular pattern. And I think I know what they're going after. I feel like they were going after even maybe a Benson Moorhead kind of feel on some of their stuff is really kind of out there, but this was just too far. I could come up with some ideas and think, oh, this is, well, I'll save that for later. But yeah, I didn't have fun. It was way too long, and I didn't get any satisfaction out of this at all.
Ouch. Well, those are damning words. That's actually very well put. Thank you. And now we turn to Dave Dreher. Dave, who recommended this movie to everybody. Yes, you did.
Yeah. No, I just said I'd heard about it. People were saying that it was
lap,
good.
Yeah.
You think I would learn by now, but
what is your first impression of The Outwaters?
I really wanted to like this movie. I love the idea of this movie, but it is just not pulling out. I mean, we get this in like 3 segments, right? It's supposed to be 3 separate memory cards that we're viewing, kind of like Cloverfield. They find the recovered footage, and we see the beginning. This is memory card 1, and memory card 1 totally useless. There's nothing in there that we need. Right? I mean, we meet these people. I mean, it almost seems like an exercise in the filmmaker just trying to show how he can copy all these styles that are currently trendy. We even get the flashy colored lights.
I thought of you.
Yeah. It's like, okay, the guy is standing in front of his refrigerator playing a guitar, and we have purple and red lights. Why? That makes no sense. Or whatever the hell he was doing, messing with his camera or whatever. But again, it's just, look how cool I am. I can do what everybody else is doing. And we even get the upside down shots, where the people are upside down in the frame and the trees are on the bottom. And, it's like, okay, I get it. So that's all that bullshit there. So then we make it to the second memory card. And the only thing that saved that whole segment for me was the sound design. I thought it was great when they start hearing that thunder, but it kind of sounds like artillery shells, and it's like, wow. I mean, like I didn't even know, because this is one of those screeners that you can't play on the TV. I was listening to it on my MacBook, but like I sometimes couldn't tell where the sounds were coming from. I'm like, what the hell? Is there like something in my? It sounded like things rattling around in my basement. So that really kind of impressed me, and I like the boldness of the sound. I mean, that actually kind of on several different occasions actually like startled me. But again, that's all just sound design, right? Still wasn't much story there. Then we get the third memory card where everything just goes batshit crazy, right? Although, as you stated, we really can't see much of it, with the exception of a couple. One I alluded to in my opening. We get a couple kind of extended grotesque scene, and the scene where apparently he's like reborn and he has like the second skin and he peels himself out of it. And it looked good, but at the end of the day, this thing is just. It's just kind of a mess, and I don't know what the point of any of it was. That's kind of my first impressions of it. It's way, way, way too long. We could have just watched the third memory card and been fine.
That would be true. Yeah, for me, the problem is that you don't get to, even with an hour of spending time with these characters, the depth of these characters is very shallow. We know very broad strokes with them. Hey, the singer's mom died, right? We mentioned that earlier, and matter of fact, I wasn't really sure between the two guys who was who. I was really confused by a lot of, especially when we got to only see portions of them. I was like, is that the other guy, or is that looking at himself? And eventually I just gave up. I didn't, and when things start happening, the problem is you don't care. You don't care what's happening to them. And then the narrative doesn't support it, because the narrative is very loosey-goosey and a lot of hallucinogenic stuff, which is a problem, because if it's a found footage film, the film wouldn't capture the hallucinogenic stuff because that's in his head. So that doesn't make sense. So it can't be him tripping, because the camera wouldn't show that. It wouldn't capture
unless it's not meant to be. I said, maybe it's not.
Right.
Maybe it's actually meant to be real.
But if he's supposed to be some kind of, like he ends up in his. I mean, let's get into the spoilers. I had a lot of problems with this movie, and I'm like Dave. I wanted to like it, but in the end, it frustrated me too much to like it. It's going to be hard to recommend it. Now, the big thing is that I had such a hard time believing that this was a found footage, because the things that we were seeing weren't stuff that footage would find, like the Trippy stars thing that you get.
Yeah, what was with that anyway? Where they like spun around and stopped, and then they spin around and stop again?
I thought it was supposed to be like space,
but he did. But there was nothing to support that.
So my thought was that this was some sort of Lovecraftian.
Well, there's
interdimensional,
portal.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Portals and stuff. That's the only way.
Because we kind of get that. We get like the light vagina, right? That like sits there and then it opens up,
and then he said it tore through. So I totally think that was the point. And did you notice?
He sees them all in the past walking across the field with their umbrellas up.
He saw the restricted sign, and they are the Mojave Desert. I mean, it could be like some area 51, because it's on the edge of the Mojave Desert, isn't it? I mean, it could be something like that, some testing ground or something. I'm okay with the hallucinogenic stuff. I mean, I'll get on your ride if you give me a good ride to get on. There's just some things that I had issues with, and not caring about the characters. I get it. I think he thought putting all this character development was really going to work, and I guess for some people it might, but the fact that none of us here cared about the characters isn't good.
You mentioned the screaming, "I want my mommy." That was so out of place.
I was like, I laughed. I was like, what?
Say it louder.
Yes, I know. It's horrible.
But then the other side of it is this camera flash around. We're supposed to be seeing this bloody mayhem. And really, all I saw was people covered in
blood.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Were they actually hurt? I don't know. We never saw any wounds or anything. And then the only time it actually focused one time was on a bare breast. then it
Yeah.
stopped for a minute.
Yeah.
before-
And
I'm
it
like,
stayed on that, and it just
Yeah.
felt very like
Yeah,
leering,
like
and
for
I'm
a
like,
while.
why?
And she was just like she was just like rubbing her breast back. And forth. Like,
Christopher's
what
face.
the hell that's supposed to be?
Mm.
It felt
So
very,
anyway.
yeah. It felt like.
I mean, I dug
very-
the snaky things, and some of the
there's-
stuff with the silhouette, but it just didn't.
You know what? It reminded me of VHS 99. The people from Deadstream made something that was kind of similar,
But it
where
was
they-
funny.
but
so
it was,
meant, yeah.
but at the same
Mm.
time, it was a million times better than this.
Yeah.
And that my biggest, and if it's supposed to be within his mind, then why call it,
Right, it's not found footage. Yeah.
it's not found
Well, I don't-
footage, but it's not. But it said that it was the third, memory
Yeah.
card.
Well, that's why I took it as being sort of an interdimensional thing. So he was actually videoing
It's still that's right.
what
can't-
was
it can't
happening to him.
It can't
not
be
what was
interdimensional and found footage. It's not.
Yeah. So I mean,
Can't
the
happen.
Why
fact
not?
that the fact that it went back to his mom's house
Oh well, and his mom showed up.
and his
already
mom.
in the-
So that I mean, that totally
Yeah.
doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense in the
Right.
aspect
Well,
of the
whole
concept.
thing doesn't
so-
make sense.
Well, I mean,
And,
okay. So
But
there,
here's the thing. Here's the
there
I'm
are-
thing.
not gonna
You make a
argue to make
film,
sense out of it.
and you want to get to know the characters so that when the shit hits the fan, you can
Yeah.
you feel for them. And this
Mhm.
one, you just have these little snippets of their lives, in the very beginning, but you don't really know much about them.
there's no context to this.
There's no
Right.
context to it.
Right.
And even when they're out in the middle of the desert, there's not. It's more from that one guy's point of view than anything else.
Mhm.
And I don't really want to stay with him because he's
I didn't even
the
know.
character-
Well, okay, and it kind of bothered me his ASMR like praying and stuff. I mean, if you were wearing headphones, I'm like, is he really trying?
My biggest problem
to do
is if you
this?
go
What
up
is
to
he
your
doing?
wife who's covered in blood, the last scene, shut up, idiot.
Oh, but yet shine the light on her.
Yeah.
So
right.
so
Shine light on
so
her.
here's the thing that bothered. I'm like you're telling her to be quiet, but you're literally shining the light. He needed some. He needed some color, some blue
Yeah,
lights.
yeah.
He needed
Well,
some
it-
blue lights to have the moonlight. I think that would have been a game changer for this movie, and someone else to do the sound design. I know y'all like the sound, but I could literally show you a million. No, I could show you a million times how jacked up it was.
But
When
my-
he was cutting himself, did you not hear the Artlist freaking squishy gut sound that's like way too loud? The mixing is not good.
Well,
It's
I'm just
not
saying-
good.
I'm saying
It's ridiculous. I was like,
but my problem is the only strong part is that, and that still has problems. I
yeah,
understand
it's
that
always
this
like,
is- but again,
and like he's cutting like this far away. I'm like, why am
Well,
I hearing that so loud?
yeah, but I mean the sounds of like the penis snakes or whatever those things were, where he kind of like put screams inside of it. There's parts that work and parts that don't.
Okay,
but
I did
everything's a
like-
mess in this.
Yeah, yeah. I
like
didn't
the
mind
yeah.
the stormy kind of like sonic-y booms. I could get behind.
So
Definitely.
the sound of the storms was okay.
Yeah.
But the reaction to it was not. The reaction to it was like
Yeah, let's go outside our
nobody
tents.
said, "Oh my God, what is that?" or started acting confused or
What is-
scared or anything. I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, there's elements I liked. I like
Well-
that they found the axe, like in.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
That was
See,
cool.
and that's what I'm saying.
And
It's
then
like,
later-
that was very
later-
Hills Has Eyes. That was very
Right,
Hills Has
right.
Eyes.
And then later you have the shadow of the guy holding the axe, and he's like, "Hey, who's there? Who's there?" And you see him, but you don't see him because he's silhouette. So there are elements in here
Yeah.
that caught my attention, but overall, it's the lack of a narrative that you can follow.
Well, that as a filmmaker, if you're shooting a music video, you're not going to be recording sound. You don't need to record perfect sound for that because you're going to use your audio track from the song.
You're gonna
So,
dub it,
like,
man.
why do you buy some new microphone? It's just that's the stupidest thing. Just one of the many stupid things that people do in this.
but I guess a big part of me too was confused as to why where were they? I would have liked some more explanation as to where they were going exactly. Like, why were they so far out? Seemed
Well,
like they passed a majillion other places they could have shot.
Well, he seemed to have a hard on for the dried up lake bed that's
Yeah.
in the middle of the desert.
And that's
why-
where the shark tooth came from.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I guess that must be where where there was like the water, and that's why I think that that's what I'm saying. It is a portal thing. That's why it kind of blew through. That's why it had the time. That's why there was water splashing. A lot of it I'm totally behind, and I can get it, and I can see. It's like he just kept. I think he did too much.
How could you see? You only had this amount to look at.
Well, I mean, some of them, to be fair, were during the day. So, I mean, but at nighttime, you had that problem a lot. Yeah.
Do you want to hear the scariest thing at all about this entire conversation?
What?
Right now, as we're talking about this, it's trending on Rotten Tomatoes with a 92%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read a bunch of reviews, and they were like gushing.
Yeah.
over
Us and 3 more of the 8 people that don't like it.
Wow. Well, I mean, but see, good.
You've heard
That's good.
You need to listen to Uncle Dave. Listen to Uncle Dave. Remember the old saying?
Early in the review.
Yes, Dave.
Remember the old saying?
He's gonna
stop making dumb people famous. We've all heard that, right? Stop making bad movies popular. Just stop.
Uncle Dave.
But I think we all realize that the art is subjective thing. There's always going to be an audience for something.
And we want horror to change. It's like, I mean,
I don't want to change this because I'll stop writing horror. I'm just telling you right now, Crystal.
Oh, that
if
makes
all
me
horror
super
movies
sad.
are like this, I'm going to comedies and action films.
I'm going to Hallmark movies. That's
I'm leaving
Hallmark movies for me.
Hallmark movies
I
are
will walk
fun.
out that
Hallmark
door
movies.
if every
I love
horror
Hallmark
film
movies.
is like this. I'm
Did
sorry.
you guys notice? This was I forgot about this, but there was one of those super quick shots. It was hard to tell what the hell it was, but it looked like a gas mask laying there covered with.
Yeah.
There was a gas
there
mask,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because I was trying to think, did he try to put it on? Because if he did, I never really.
I thought he was going to do that because then I felt like but again, the sound design didn't really tell you if he had it on or not, so I wasn't really sure. I mean, I will say, if it comes down to it, if a lot of it was like the one scene, like the Cthulhu tentacle porn scene or whatever that happened, I don't know what happened. I just know people got wrapped in tentacles. If it was more like that, where you could see what was happening,
Yes.
maybe this movie would be more tolerable and palatable, but. It's not. This is not. This movie is about random shots of scenery, random shots of people singing, random shots of small things you can't see what's happening, and that's not a movie. That's unedited footage.
Well, and maybe the intent was this is what it would look like in reality if you went through and met the old ones in the darkness, But that's not what I don't want to see.
That's not a movie.
I want to see a movie version.
We should have had the little kids' feet from Skinamarink just randomly show up. That would have been good.
Let's not.
We had the other ones. We had the other feet. All right, let's go ahead. We've gone way over on this, and I feel bad about every minute of it. Let's go ahead and give our score 1 to 5 on our favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, you're up first.
I'm giving this a 1.5.
Ooh, rough. Ooh.
And as for favorite scene, I guess I'll say. let me go through the 10% of the footage that you can see.
Love the pregnant pause on that.
Yeah.
I'll say the tentacle wrapping around the. I don't even know who it was. If it was her or him, I'm not sure. Somebody's body got wrapped in tentacles.
And that was about it.
Yeah, somebody's body got wrapped in tentacles, and it got a little bit the thingish, and I was like, yeah, if this were a TikTok video and you're just showing that one scene, that would be great. But yeah, I'll say that scene. And that's I don't really want to talk about this movie anymore.
Okay, fine. Crystal, you're up next. What is your scored favorite scene? Oh my God, that's gonna be a byline.
With as much as I poo-pooed on it, I did say I kind of liked it, so I'm giving it. Oh my God, don't hate me. I'm giving it a 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, okay. Because I see it and I get it. I just really think it comes down to one person trying to do too much. I really do. Like, I get it though. When it's only you, and I mean, he's probably a little bit controlling, which is fine. I get it. It's his movie, you know. But I bet you a few other people working on this, a different editor, different sound editor, you know, I bet it would be, yeah. My favorite scene is, and I loved it. See, this is what I'm saying. So I mainly focused on the negatives, and I guess, well, we all did. But there were some things I really liked, and one of the things that I really liked was the head on the spikes. I loved them. I loved the way they were shot and far away, and I loved when you got up close. I loved the blonde with the. I really loved it, and obviously, you know, the last freaking 20 minutes or whatever of the movie, or 25 minutes, I really, really were very, very solid.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Jeff Mohr, you're up next. Score, favorite scene?
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah.
I'm going 1.5 as well.
Oh,
for the half a point is for the few scenes that actually were clear enough to actually see what was going on. So, you know, the heads on the pikes, the appendage removal.
Yeah. It reminded me of Christopher, really.
Shark tooth slicing off. Just and the snakes and the silhouette of the guy. But seriously, those were quick flashes, and I really don't think there was more than about 5 minutes of that type of thing in the last half of the film. I just felt like it was a bad setup. It didn't, you know, I didn't have any. I'm hearing those noises going, "Oh my God, what is that?" But they don't act that way. They really didn't, you know. So it didn't really build the tension. All right, favorite scene. I'm going to go with the recurring 5 donkeys.
Oh yeah, that was actually. I was like, why is someone not writing one of those? I don't care if it bucked me off. I'd be on one of those. Giddy up, go.
I think the true meaning of the film is somewhere hidden in
probably
in the 5 donkeys.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, there's an ass element.
Hey, Dreher, what is your score and favorite scene?
I'm going to join the bandwagon with a 1.5. Bless Crystal for attempting to defend these people's artistic vision. I don't get it. I really feel we're all, just as horror fans, are building ourselves into a corner of just perpetually worsening filmmaking. But you know, it is what it is. We'll write it out. You know, we'll write it out. That's all we can do. Favorite scene. You mentioned it, Doc, and I want, just because it was actually kind of a scary scene and it looked very Hills Have Eyes-ish, but when we do see the dude standing up on the cliff with the
axe,
the axe, yeah, I mean, we don't know why he's there. Actually, they show it twice. I think it might have been the same shot both times. We see it once, and then we see it again. It looked identical. I think they just edited the same scene in again. But that actually looked ominous, and I was like, "What the fuck?" You know. But yeah, this. Yeah. Okay. Enough. I'm done. That's it. Move.
Dave's favorite scene is right out of a slasher movie, right?
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. It has to be. All right. I guess I'm a little more favorable. I broke down 2.25. I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. That's good.
I am a found footage.
Yes.
So, you know, I'll put all the blame on that. I know, Crystal, you didn't like sound design, but to me it was, I listened with my headphones. So there was like a lot of sounds all around me, and the booms were jarring. And I did hear the plane, and I was wondering, like, is he on the plane and he's dying? What's going on? It made me think all these stupid things. Because they were on a plane ride at one point. So it was interesting that we got the plane sound later. And then I was trying to figure out, like, anyway, I'm going off the rails. My favorite scene is going to be hard to choose. Because the tentacle scene really stuck out with me. And the heads did too. The donkeys, not so much. I'm not going to choose the penis scene.
Oh, wait. We shouldn't give that totally away, right? I mean, because...
I think we did though.
They've already did.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Somebody had said it literal earlier. So what do I choose? I'm having a hard time figuring out what I want to choose. Okay, so
go with
Dave,
the scene where he picked up the little flashlight and then laid it down and went, no, I can't. That
well,
was
he did that.
And he said, "I'm sorry." He was like,
did
"I'm
that a couple
sorry."
times. He did that with like a bunch of rocks over top of a flood pile at one point too. So what I liked is that they climb up the one hill, and they find the axe actually in the dirt, right? Like it's stuck in the dirt. And they didn't pick it up or take it with them or anything. They just left it there. But I was like, well, that's ominous, right? There's something there. And it does come back. And obviously something used that axe. But what? But a lot of my favorite scenes are more confusing than favorite scenes. But I'm gonna stick with that. I wish there was more of the tentacle stuff that was in the tent. That was creepy. And I was there. Like I've got so many questions. Like there's one time there's one of those weird snaky things was in the bush and it was screaming at her. Like what the fuck is that? And I'm like,
yeah.
And I was like, it's like a skinned snake and it's still alive and screaming. Is that what we're supposed to get? I don't know. Because I was like, is it attached to a tentacle thing? I don't know. And I was just left me confused and not scared or anything. I'm sorry. I wondered like
very confused. Kudos to them for making a movie. And I'm sure we've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure that there was a coherent story behind in their brain.
Oh, I totally think he had a vision. Yeah.
You did not get it across to me anyway. Unless you're sitting back and going, look at all these guys giving us great reviews.
But 92.
I got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
God, that's crazy.
Well, but it's still early. It hasn't even been released yet.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will rate stuff so they can get their name on the DVD or whatever. But I don't know. I think this film just made me realize, okay, there's elements of Blair Witch that make me realize, oh, Blair Witch is so much better, and VHS 99. There's all these different elements that, I mean, I kind of see what they're going for, Crystal. I kind of understand what they're going for, but I think the way they went about it was just horribly wrong.
I mean, to me, they effectively get this really chaotic nature to the story at the end. It feels very hallucinogenic, very out of control. They captured that essence. The problem is it doesn't attach to anything. It does, it's a device instead of what's actually. It doesn't feel like it's actually happened to this character, right? It's not, the character isn't doing anything but going, "Who am I? My name is Paul."
Oh yeah, God. I think a lot of that with that dialogue, it really took me away. Who am I?
Well, and it just became very repetitive. And for a film that's an hour and 50 minutes, you don't want repetitive stuff. And I think the repetitive stuff just made it languish and just like, just get it over with.
Regardless, it certainly got a reaction out of us because we spent 15 more minutes on this than we have on other films. So there you go.
Fair enough.
If from that perspective, it's a success of some sort. So let's go ahead and let's prepare to get out of here, guys. Jeff, Dave, Crystal, Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun. It still was a lot of fun.
Okay. Yes.
And I'll say, it was fun.
I refuse to say it was fun.
No, come on. Let's just get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh,
the light vagina.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Gruesome Magazine.